Welcome everyone, and thank you for your interest in the Distinguished Fulbright Awards and Teaching Program. My name is Holly Emmert, and I'm the Assistant Director for this program. I'm joined by my colleague Becky Zook, Senior Program Associate. In this webinar, we will provide U.S. applicants with tips for successfully completing the online application, with a focus on writing the Capstone Project proposal. During the webinar, we will stop periodically for questions. Please enter your questions in the question box. If we are not able to answer your question today, please contact us at fulbrightdat@iie.org. If you are an international applicant, please contact the partner organization in your home country for country-specific information. You can find their contact information on the Fulbright Teacher Exchange program website at www.fulbrightteacherexchange.org. The Distinguished Fulbright Awards and Teaching Program is sponsored by the U.S. Department of State, Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs. It is administered by the Institute of International Education, IIE. IIE manages the day-to-day details of the program and works closely with the State Department on program matters. The Distinguished Fulbright Awards and Teaching Program, or DA program for short, is comprised of three main components. Both U.S. and international participants study and take classes at a host institution, work within local schools in the host country to learn from local teachers and students, and to share information about their home educational system as well as their project, and also design and complete a capstone research project that is of direct relevance to their teaching. Once selected, IIE connects participants with the program partner in the host country. This partner organization works with each participant as well as IIE to connect them with host university and host school contacts in the country, as well as to make other program arrangements. Participating countries are listed on the program website. Before indicating your preferred country or countries on the application, make sure you meet the eligibility requirements for each country, such as language proficiency, if needed, and availability during the eligible program dates as indicated on the website. We receive many questions from teachers about the program length and time frame. U.S. Distinguished Fulbright Awards and Teaching program participants design the length and timing of their program. Programs must be a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 6 whole months in duration. The program dates can vary, however. For example, while a participant may go abroad from January to July, the program dates could be January 1st to January 31st or January 15th to July 15th, as long as the total time is in whole months. U.S. participants may go abroad at any time from August through July, as long as the 3 to 6 month program starts and ends within the listed program dates for the host country. Are there any questions? We've gotten a few questions, thank you. One question is, are some countries more competitive for U.S. applicants than others? The answer to that is that all countries are competitive. Some countries are more popular than others. For example, we often get many applicants to Finland, Singapore, South Africa, but that doesn't make those countries any more competitive necessarily than others, because selection criteria depend on many things, not just the number of applications, but primarily the strength of the application, in particular the Capstone Project proposal, which we'll speak more about in a few minutes. Another question we received is not too clear about the program durations we were just describing. So let me clarify that. For this program for U.S. applicants, each program must be a minimum of 3 full months, 4 full months, 5 full months, or 6 full months. You cannot go abroad on this particular Fulbright program for less than 3 full months or for more than 6 full months. Within that time frame, however, exactly when you depart the U.S. and when you finish your program, the actual date can vary. So while you may choose to go abroad in March and come back in June, you may, because of scheduling on your end, decide that you need to leave on March 15th and come back on the 15th of that final month. Someone else may leave on the 1st of the month and then come back to the U.S. on the 1st of their final month. So the program duration must be 3, 4, 5, or 6 months, but the actual departure date and program start date can be at any time during a month. You just need to mirror that final end date so that it's a full 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 month period. When you look at the eligibility dates, make sure that when you refer to the information on the website that you are in the section of the website for U.S. applicants, not international applicants. The reason that is important is that for our international applicants, they actually all come to the U.S. in each fall semester. There are no spring options for our international candidates. It is only the U.S. teachers who have the option of going throughout the academic year. Okay, one question we received, which is an excellent one, the question is, do you as the applicant or does your school district choose the time of the grant, or is it up to the host site? The decision as to when you go abroad is up to you. Now, you will need to discuss the best timing of your program with your school administration, because as part of your application, you have to get sign-off from your administrators that shows that you would be provided a leave, whether that's a leave with or without pay, or, for example, if you get a sabbatical. So it's up to you. The only requirement is that when you check on the website, you need to make sure the dates you propose for Morocco, for example, are within the eligible program dates that are listed on the website. Within those program dates, you can leave at any time and return at any time, as long as the total program is, again, 3 minimum months to a maximum of 6 maximum months. And if this isn't clear, just write us at fulbrightdat@iie.org, and we will follow up with a more detailed explanation or a phone call. So one individual asked, what if we were just interested in one country and not the other countries? It is up to you to indicate on your application one or more countries that you would like to apply for. We strongly recommend you list more than one country, because while you may have an excellent application, for whatever reason there may be stronger applicants for your first choice, such that we might ask for you to go to your second choice country. That does occur. So again, you have every option to simply put one country, but we suggest you put more than one country, assuming it fits your project goals and your program goals. Now let's move into a discussion about the Capstone Project. This is perhaps not the most important aspect of your application, but certainly a very important component of your application. The Capstone Project is a unique component of this program, which offers teachers a wonderful opportunity to explore a research topic. Is there a question or topic that you have always wanted to explore that you felt you never had the time to do so? Well, this is your opportunity. Before completing the Capstone Project proposal section, applicants should review the instructions listed in the application. Applicants should be sure to include as much detail as possible in their Capstone Project proposal. The following tips are designed to help you write the proposal. Regarding your choice of topic, be sure to do several things. First, demonstrate in your proposal that your topic is of direct relevance to your work, whether you are a classroom teacher or fulfill another role, such as school counselor or media specialist. Second, explain why your preferred host country, your first choice country, is particularly well suited for pursuing your project. Additional information about preferred project topics for some countries is available on the website. Also, be sure that you need to be in the country to do your research. We have received excellent proposals in the past from teachers who were not selected for the program because the project could be accomplished virtually or through other means that did not require travel to the country. While your topic should fit your first choice of host country, Please also know, as mentioned previously, that you may not be selected for your first country choice, so your project should be broad enough to relate to other countries as well. The scope and goals of your project should be appropriate for the amount of time you will be abroad. Be realistic regarding what can be accomplished in 3 versus 4, 5, or 6 months. It takes time to settle in and to connect with local educators once abroad, so make sure that your capstone project can be accomplished during your program. Please also be aware that it is quite common for projects to ebb and flow once people are abroad, once they understand the resources, the network, and other components of their project topic that are available or not available abroad. So build in that flexibility into your project as much as you can. Are there any questions specifically about the project at this point? So one question, is there a section of your site that showcases previous applicants' projects? We will mention that in a little bit, but there is a section of the website that shows some information about previous topics. We will continue to add more information to that part of our website, so check back. But yes, we do have some resources about previous topics and projects on our website. One question that someone has asked is there a rubric to help guide how the projects are scored? No, there is not. The closest thing we have to a rubric that you should follow very closely is the capstone component of the website, and I'm going to go back in the webinar to show you that page. When you see this page that lists the things we look for in a project, we follow this very closely, so make sure that you meet each component of this section of the proposal. Make sure that you touch on each of these. And after we finish taking questions, we'll speak a little bit more to some of these points. So one question related to the project is, should the research be focused on your content area, such as math or history, or education, such as classroom practice, etc.? There is no yes, no to either of those components. The main guide you need to keep in mind is your proposal should be of direct relevance to your educational practice, whether you are a French teacher, a math teacher, a gifted and talented coordinator, or another type of educator. We will accept projects that are mainly content area, subject area focused, and we will also consider projects that take a bigger picture and look at, for example, educational policy of some sort. The main key is that you meet all the particular criteria for your project, meaning it's something that you can demonstrate how you will use it as part of your educational practice, that you'll be able to share it with others, etc. And again, we'll be speaking more to that in just a few minutes. But it can be both subject area and or more general educational topics. All right, let's move on. We'll ask further questions in a few minutes. All right, the Capstone Project proposal should also include a discussion of how your project relates to your professional and academic experiences up to this point in time, and how it will enhance your professional development and career goals. Provide a description of how your project will benefit educational and school communities in the host country as well as your home country. Explain how you plan to implement what you learned on your program when you return to your home country. Explain how your experience will impact your classroom practice, your school, and your community. Also include a detailed plan for assessing the impact of your program. Now, impact can take many different forms, but what we want to see evidenced in your proposal is that you have already thought ahead to ways and methods for not only sharing what you learned during your program and with your project, but how you plan to share that learning both with your students and other peers. Part of this impact could be I plan to integrate what I learn into my curriculum. I plan to share it at teacher conferences. I plan to share it at my district-wide meetings. Any and all of those are examples. There are many things that you could do to show impact that I haven't mentioned. So think broadly and also think about forms of impact that are realistic for you, that actually are appropriate for the project, and that make the most sense for the best ways to share what you learn abroad. Regarding the selection of the host university, several factors are considered when an institution is selected for each participant. A primary selection criterion is the fit between the project and the resources available at a host university or institution that would support the completion of the project. Participants are encouraged to research and include in the proposal one or more potential host universities or institutions, for example, a teacher training college or other type of educational institution, as well as faculty members at each institution that they could work with on their project while abroad. Some applicants already have pre-existing contacts with host universities or faculty members, teachers in other countries. Some of our applicants, in fact many of our applicants, do not. So including this information as part of your capstone project proposal is optional, and their inclusion or exclusion in the proposal will have no effect on your being selected for the program. So one question is, how would you go about knowing university or faculty members? Well, there are many methods. Frankly, the easiest way that you can start is simply by using the internet. You know, let's say that you want to go to Singapore. That's your first choice country, excuse me. Then simply research the universities or institutions in Singapore. On most of those websites, you'll be able to see, you know, the academic departments, what courses are available, and so you can get a general sense of, well, this institution seems to be more educationally focused, so that would be a better fit. And within this certain department, oh, look at this person, this faculty member's research. Well, I want to look at holistic inquiry as part of my project, which happens to be a popular topic in Singapore. So that would be a starting process. And if you were to find a host institution or university that does seem to be a good fit, we suggest you put that in your application and say, you know, I've identified X institution that may be a good fit for this and that reason, and be specific. Again, not everybody will be able to find on their own a university or faculty member that seems to mesh with their project. That's absolutely fine. You're not expected to do that if you're not able to. As part of our process, once applicants are selected, IIE, our office, works with our program partners abroad to find the best match for you. And then once that initial process is over, we connect you with the partner organization, whether it's a Fulbright Commission, Ministry of Education, a U.S. Embassy, to find the best fit. And then there's a process of actually finalizing a selection, etc. Another good question related to the host university is, how much do we work with the faculty at the university for this research project? Should we be contacting them already? The first answer is you should not be contacting anyone at this point. We strongly suggest you just do some initial research into who might be a good fit. And again, you may just choose to look at universities. It's perfectly acceptable if you find a good university or institution that seems to be a good fit, but not a faculty member, to just put information about that university as a potential match. It's not until participants are selected that any of this really takes or begins the process of actual contacting people. So please do not contact anyone at this point because you have not been selected for the program. Okay, another question is, did we mention where we can look to see what institutions you do work with, as well as this individual has contacts in several institutions. How do I know if they would be eligible for exchanges? So to answer your first question is, at this point in time, we do not have a set list of host universities. We do have certain universities that other participants have been placed at to this point in time, but until the selection process is finalized, we don't publish those universities because it's too early in the process. In terms of how do we know if institutions or faculty would be eligible for exchanges, just to be perfectly clear, this is not an exchange program in the sense that you change places with another teacher or faculty member. This is a one-way program where you leave the U.S. and go to a host university on your own to, as we stated earlier, take a few classes at a host university, visit local schools, and to complete a project. All of those three components of the program work with each other to help you have a solid program to learn about the host country, educational system, but it is a one-way program. It is not an exchange per se. Another question, can your project be skill-based versus curriculum-based? Yes. There's a wide variety of potential approaches to the topics you will study. They can be comparative, they can be document review, they can be curriculum design oriented. They simply must need to be educational in origin, of course. They need to be of direct relevance to your practice, and they need to be a good fit to the host country. Again, I want to mention that in the past, we have received excellent applications, excellent capstone project proposals, and those individuals were ultimately not selected because they didn't need to leave the U.S. to do that project. So we need to see why Singapore, why South Africa, why Morocco, why the UK. So you need to make sure that that component is quite strong in your application. All right, let's take a final question at this stage. Is there acceptance of only one educator per host country, or are there a number of applicants that may be accepted per country? We received numerous applications for each country, and quite honestly, it varies year to year. In general, we have multiple teachers going to each country each year, but it depends on many factors, and so we do not, and frankly cannot say at this point that X number of teachers will go to X country. There are many factors that go into that decision. Most importantly, if the applicants are a good, solid fit for the country, if their project proposal is a good fit for the country, those factors take precedence over, let's just make sure we meet our quota of teachers in a country. It's really, for this program, it's the Distinguished Fulbright Awards and Teaching Program. It's quality over quantity. All right, let's move on, and at the end, we'll take some more questions. As previously mentioned, we encourage applicants to visit the website to view short summaries of Distinguished Fulbright Awards and Teaching Program alumni capstone projects to see the range of projects and ideas from previous years. This is not an exhaustive list. Don't take the samples on the website as the only possibilities. There are many different options in terms of project topics and methods that applicants can pursue. So think broadly in terms of what you propose. We want you to propose something that is of keen interest to you, that is relevant to your work, and that is, again, appropriate to the host country. So think broadly. Okay, and moving away from the capstone specifically, before submitting your application, we strongly recommend that you view the application checklist posted on the program website under the application section. This section lists the components of the application which must be submitted to IIE in order for your application to be considered complete. Okay, here is a basic overview of the selection timeline found on our website. December 15th is the application deadline for U.S. applicants. Immediately following the application deadline, IIE conducts what we call a technical review, which you see under the second column. In December to January, we screen all applications for eligibility, making sure that you meet the program requirements such as 5 years of teaching experience, etc. And we also screen applications for completeness, meaning that we've received all your references, that you've completed all required sections of the application, and of course all sections of the application are required. On the opposite side, we also review the international applications, and then in February and March, eligible applicants undergo a final review by review committees. Now what that means is we convene review panel meetings of external experts who have experience in international programming, individuals who come from the K-12 arena either as administrators, teachers themselves. We also invite program alumni to take part in the review panel committees. And the job of the review panels, is to do just that, to review all the applications, to see which are the strongest project proposals, which seem to be the best fit for a particular country, and generally to make overall recommendations on who should be selected to participate for that program year. For this year, of course, that is the academic year 2013-2014. At the end of the review committee process, okay, all the recommended candidates are reviewed. Selection decisions are made by the J. William Fulbright Foreign Scholarship Board. This is a presidentially appointed board. They make all final selection decisions for all Fulbright programs, not just this program. Once we receive that information, actually before that step, all applicants are told that they have been recommended or that unfortunately they have not been recommended that year. They receive program documents to start learning more about the details of the program, and then shortly thereafter we notify them of their official selection, and then the program planning begins, where we start connecting applicants with our program partners. We start giving them information about what to expect at each stage of the process, etc. Again, as you know, the application deadline is December 15th. Watch that deadline carefully. Make sure that we have your references. You can track that using the online application. Make sure that you've printed out the leave authorization form and delivered it to the appropriate district official or the official that is appropriate for you. The leave authorization form is the only form of the application that has to be printed specifically before you submit. You cannot download the leave authorization form after you submit your application. So make sure you print that form before you hit the submit button. If you have any other questions that we don't answer, we'll take a few more questions now. But again, if we do not answer all your questions, just email us at fulbrightdat@iie.org, and we'll be happy to respond to you. So I am reviewing the questions. Is there an example of an implementation plan online? I am not sure how detailed you want this to be. Okay, good question. In terms of the implementation plan, we do need detail, but keep in mind that the actual Capstone Project proposal is only a few pages long, so you need to make sure that you fit all those components of the proposal into that page deadline. I believe it's 3 pages. I don't have the application in front of me, so you'll need to check that. So detail, but not too extensive. Another question we have, is the project one that could be potentially the start of something new for the school involved? For example, can the project be one in which the participant is working with a school/teacher/faculty on starting something new at their school? I'm not sure if this refers to being something new for the host country school or the home school, but within the way this is described, yes, you can absolutely start a new project and have your project be the foundational work. That's up to you to frame and to design. But one thing I will tell everyone is make sure that what you do submit is clear, that we can tell how your topic, how your objectives lead into the methods, how the methods lead into your implementation, how it leads into your impact. One tip we often tell applicants is have someone who has no connection with you in the sense of what your project is to read it to see if it makes sense. Because we only know what we receive from you. We cannot tell the intent of your project. We only know what we read. So make sure whatever you submit is very clearly written and comprehensive. One question that we've just had is what type of international experience is Fulbright looking for? We're not looking for any specific international experience. You do not have to have already been abroad in any real way or even to travel to be selected for this program. We are looking first and foremost at an application from an educator who could benefit from time abroad to explore a topic in depth that they can use to learn for themselves, for their students, for their peers, for their community. That is what we are focused on, not previous international experience. We've had one general question about the character numbers in the boxes when you fill in the projects. One person has asked if they can put a certain, if I'm reading this correctly, they have a section that they want to place in a different box because it fits better. The only thing I will say to that is you must answer the question, you must put the answer for a certain question in the correct box. Do not switch boxes around. I'll stop there because I'm not exactly sure what you've asked there. So another question, do we connect you with a public school abroad or do we find these connections ourselves? Excellent question. So once you're selected and IIE connects you with our program partners and you start working with them as well as our office to finalize those program placements, your host university will actually, at the host university will be an individual we call a faculty advisor. Sometimes one person takes on that role or there are multiple support individuals at that host institution. That individual is selected based on their familiarity with the local schools, and that individual will connect you with local schools. How that happens, who helps you connect with local school does vary by country to country, by institution to institution, but just know there is a framework in place for us to connect you with local schools. Okay, another question about the travel or international experience component. This question is, if you have been abroad traveling and teaching, will that count against you? Is there anyone too experienced with international travel to go on this program? The short answer is no. Again, we're looking most carefully at your project, how you demonstrate that being abroad on this program would be of value to you and your teaching. And a follow-up to that question is, should I change my host country to a place I've not been? It's hard to answer that specifically. I would simply say, well, first of all, I hate to answer that because there's so many variations to what your project and program could look like that I don't want to say, no, don't apply for a country where you've had previous experience. I would simply say, if you've already taught in a certain country, if you've already done research in a certain country, that could be a great benefit. If you demonstrate that doing this program would help you continue the work that you've done and that it would further it in some way. If you're proposing to go on this program to basically do something you've already done with nothing new added in, then that would not necessarily be a positive for your application. Okay, let's move to the host university for a little bit. Good question is, how many courses do we take at our university? We'll be taking classes like we're in college again. I can't tell from your question if that would be a good thing or not a good thing, but I would say that you will be auditing classes at your host university, meaning you will not be taking them for credit. The intent of taking courses is to help you gain understanding and new knowledge in support of your program and in support of your project particularly. So again, this is not a Fulbright program where you take credit for a degree. In fact, that's not allowed as part of this program, generally speaking. We ask teachers to take a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 2 courses. We have a conversation about the courses when they're selected. You may find that a particular course is more rigorous and really takes the time you need for your courses. So in that case, we would approve 1 course. It may be 2. I will say that it is a very rare situation when we allow teachers to take 3 courses, simply because you are going to have a very full program, including the courses, and we don't want those courses to take a disproportionate amount of your time. So 1 to 2 courses is the number that most U.S. teachers take part in abroad. Question about the language proficiency. It says, does my language proficiency need to be at the college level of reading and writing? The short answer for that is that for those countries where language proficiency is required, Argentina, Mexico for Spanish, Arabic or French for Morocco, as examples, your language abilities need to be good enough that you can communicate at a reasonable level while in the host country. You need to be able to understand information you hear in your courses. That is the general guideline. We understand that some teachers apply, for example, with Spanish proficiency, who feel that their Spanish may be a little rusty. That's fine. We know there's going to be a period when you are, getting in touch with that language again. That being said, you should not be a novice in the language. You do need a reasonable level of proficiency so that you can, as much as possible, hit the ground running and you're not struggling to understand individuals in the host country. Okay, another question. How do we align course terms with time frame with our travel? Is that something we should be concerned about? Or as long as we are in the time frame outlined in the materials, that will put us in the running for selection? Excellent question. The program dates for each country are selected for a reason. One key consideration and why, for example, a certain program is in the fall and spring, but another is only in the spring or winter-spring, is that we've worked with our program partners to determine the best time for people to be able to take host institution courses, to be able to get into local schools. That being said, in many of our countries there will be school breaks while you're abroad. And just to give you a little insight into the program experience, in those situations we simply counsel you to use that school break time to work on your project or interview or network with other individuals in the country. So there's never downtime per se, but there will be times when you may not be able to get into local schools. But again, that varies by country, it varies by situation, and this is all part of the program experience. And a final thing I'll say about that point is that one term we use for this program that seems to resonate with our participants is there is structured ambiguity. Structured ambiguity because we have a very clear program framework, which you've already learned about, the university, the local schools, the Capstone Project. We have a very clear structure with what IIE does in terms of managing this program, which you'll learn more about if selected. We have program partners who do certain components. All those things are in place to help you prepare for your program and to succeed once abroad. That being said, it is your project. You know what you need to do more than anyone else. So you will have the flexibility, the ambiguity, if you will, to, while abroad, choose when you do certain activities. Choose, when you focus on certain aspects of your project versus, visiting local schools. So again, there is structure to the program, but there's also a lot of flexibility built in terms of when you do things, how you design your program. So one question we received, is how do we determine whether a country is the right country to choose? Meaning, how do I know what's possible in a given country? And how would I know if it's appropriate for my project? There is no easy answer for that question. This is where you would research the countries on your own. Let's say, for example, in the past we had an individual who is a social studies teacher and was quite interested in issues of social justice, human rights. And this individual ended up working in South Africa looking at apartheid. So he used his core interest to hone in on a certain topic that was of particular relevance to South Africa in this case, to shape his project proposal. So that's one example of how you can go from a broader interest area and hone in on something you can do in a host country. Another individual who participated in this program was a math educator, a math teacher who also worked with teachers at the district level. And he was particularly interested in assessment. And in his particular case, he chose to look at Finland, because Finland has been very innovative over the last several years. They've done very well in the PISA tests, if you're aware of what those are. So he crafted his interest so that it was a policy analysis in some ways of Finland. And when he got to Finland, he realized that he did need to adjust his program a little bit, his project rather, when he saw what the resources were in Finland. But he had great success there. All right, here's a good question talking about after the program. So if selected, after we return, when is the project due? What is the time span after we return? All right, this is something that is not on the website, so you're hearing it here first. For U.S. teachers, the general guideline is that you have 1 month from the end of the program to submit your project. Now, there are various details about the project which we will not share here and that we will not share unless you're selected. There are certain components of the project that you have to submit. But roughly speaking, you have 1 month from the end of the program to submit that information. Well, we're going to end the webinar there. We have several questions that have been asked that are very similar to others, so rather than repeat ourselves, we're going to end there. Some of the questions that are being asked that we can see on our screen are actually described in the application. So what we suggest is that you read the application very carefully. We are very responsive to email and phone, so do not hesitate to contact us. We're more than happy to help you. We want you to all write strong proposals and strong applications. So thank you for your time today. And don't forget, the application deadline is December 15th, 2012.